Every thought you have radiates energy. Every focus you hold acts as a signal. And the universe responds, not in some abstract metaphorical sense, but in a very real, measurable, and profound way. This isn't speculation. It's the emerging intersection between quantum physics and depth psychology, revealing a radical truth. Your mind doesn't just perceive reality, it participates in its formation. And the tool it uses? Intention. But intention isn't simply about wishing or wanting. It's not the shallow act of goal-setting or positive thinking. Intention, in its truest sense, is a focused energetic alignment between thought, emotion, and unconscious archetypal forces that have shaped human experience for thousands of years. That's where the work of Carl Jung becomes essential. Jung understood something modern science is only beginning to verify, that the human psyche is structured by deep symbolic patterns. These are the archetypes, primal blueprints embedded within us all. The hero, the sage, the shadow, the lover. Each one is a living force that colors our desires, our fears, and the very trajectory of our lives. And when you align your intention with these timeless inner patterns, you don't just influence your personal life, you reshape your relationship to time, space, and the very fabric of reality. In this video, we're going beyond the surface-level cliches of mind over matter. We're uncovering how your consciousness actually interacts with the quantum field. We'll look at how focusing your attention literally collapses potential outcomes into physical results. We'll explore how archetypes influence your perception, actions, and even your fate. And most importantly, you'll learn how to use these insights practically to change not just what happens to you, but who you become in the process. This isn't about belief. This is about resonance. And resonance, when understood correctly, becomes power. Here's what you can expect as we go deeper. You'll see how the observer effect in quantum physics proves that awareness changes outcomes. You'll learn how your inner archetypes act like psychological filters, projecting your unconscious expectations onto the world. You'll discover how emotions amplify intention and how dreams communicate messages from a non-local aspect of the psyche. And you'll understand how the collective unconscious, a shared psychic structure, connects your intention to something much larger than yourself. By the end, you won't just understand the quantum power of intention. You'll feel it. And once you do, there's no going back. Let's begin with one of the most mysterious, yet scientifically supported principles in quantum mechanics. A principle that reveals just how powerful your awareness truly is. In classical physics, reality is thought to exist independently of observation. The moon is there whether you look at it or not. A rock doesn't care if you're aware of it. Objects exist, period. But quantum mechanics threw a wrench into this tidy worldview. In multiple experiments, including the famous double-slit experiment, it was discovered that subatomic particles don't behave like fixed entities. Instead, they exist in a state of probability, a wave function, until they're observed. It's only when attention is placed upon them that they collapse into a single, measurable state. This phenomenon is called the observer effect. At its core, it suggests that the very act of observing influences the outcome of a quantum event. You don't just see reality. You affect it by the way you see. This defies logic as we typically understand it. But it is experimentally repeatable, and it's one of the foundational truths of quantum theory. Now, let's bridge this scientific insight with Jungian psychology. Carl Jung's entire model of the psyche revolves around the idea that consciousness alters psychic reality. To Jung, what you're unconscious of controls you. What you become aware of, what you bring into consciousness, gives you choice and influence. In other words, observation isn't neutral. It changes the psychological landscape. When you direct your awareness to a suppressed archetype, like the shadow, you initiate transformation. When you focus on an inner archetype, like the hero or the creator, you begin to embody its qualities, attracting matching experiences externally. Now combine this with the observer effect and you get something remarkable. Attention is energetic currency. When you direct it inward, you transform your psychic structure. When you direct it outward, filtered through those inner structures, you reshape the field of potential around you. Let's clarify this further. Every intention you hold is a mixture of attention and emotion. But attention alone isn't enough. It must be sustained, clear, and emotionally charged. This energetic focus interacts with the quantum field, what physicist David Bohm called the implicate order, a realm where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Your focus selects from that field. Your unconscious archetypes determine what you're inclined to select. So if your inner structure is dominated by the victim archetype, your attention, even if positive, will be tinted by fear, expectation of harm, or lack of self-agency. But when the archetypal structure within you shifts toward the sovereign or the magician, your intention carries a different resonance. A new signal. That signal is what the field responds to. In quantum mechanics, this is sometimes called decoherence, the point at which a wave of probability becomes a single outcome. But here's the twist. It doesn't happen randomly. The most coherent signal, the one most energetically aligned and emotionally amplified, is the one that becomes reality. This brings us to a fundamental principle. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Your identity, your unconscious patterns, and the emotional energy behind your attention shape what outcome gets selected from the field. And intention, properly understood, isn't just mental. It's archetypal. It's emotional. It's energetic. And when it becomes coherent, reality conforms. So how do you increase this coherence? Start with awareness. Bring unconscious archetypes into light. Observe your emotional states. Clarify your attention. The observer effect tells us that what is observed becomes real. Jung tells us that what is made conscious becomes integrated. Together, they reveal a truth too potent to ignore. Your awareness is a creative act. It's not passive. It's the first step of manifestation. Not just thoughts floating in your head, but frequencies that reshape the very structure of your world. Next, we turn inward to the ancient psychic blueprints that influence every moment of your life. It's time to uncover the archetypes within. There's a silent architecture inside you. Invisible yet profoundly influential. It doesn't speak in words, but in images, in instincts, in the stories you gravitate toward. The roles you play without even realizing it. This architecture is made of archetypes. Archetypes are not characters in a novel or abstract philosophical ideas. They are universal, inherited patterns buried in the unconscious blueprints of behavior, emotion, and perception that have guided humanity for millennia. They live in your dreams. They shape your relationships. They define your sense of identity. Carl Jung recognized that these archetypes form the psychic foundation of all individuals, across cultures and time periods. That's why the hero shows up in ancient myths, modern movies, and even in the way someone chooses to overcome adversity today. It's not just storytelling. It's pattern recognition. It's the psyche trying to organize reality through recognizable forces. So how does this connect to intention and quantum creation? Here's the key. Your intentions are filtered through the lens of your dominant archetypes. Before you take action, before you speak, before you even form a thought, an archetypal influence is already shaping your inner world. Your sense of purpose, desire, fear, and limitation all stem from these deeper structures. Let's make this more precise. Say you consistently find yourself longing for recognition, pushing yourself to prove something. That drive could be rooted in the hero archetype, pushing toward achievement, victory, and self-overcoming. But if that same desire comes with a fear of failure or deep self-sabotage, the shadow archetype might be entangled with it, hidden beliefs that you're not worthy, capable, or allowed to succeed. So even if your conscious intention is clear, I want to create success, your unconscious blueprint might be overriding that with energetic resistance. This internal misalignment scrambles your signal. The field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to the vibration you actually emit. This is where awareness becomes everything. Each archetype has a light side and a dark side. The sovereign governs with wisdom and self-respect, but in its shadow form, it can become tyrannical or self-absorbed. The lover craves connection, beauty, and intimacy. But if wounded, it becomes codependent or avoidant. The magician transforms energy and sees hidden truths. But when distorted, it manipulates or disconnects from reality. Your work is to identify which archetypes are currently active within you and how they are influencing your intention. Let's break down a few key ones. 1. The hero, fueled by challenge, always reaching for more. When aligned, it drives courageous transformation. When wounded, it creates burnout, perfectionism, or blind competition. 2. The shadow, everything repressed, denied, or unloved. Ignored, it sabotages your intentions. Embraced, it becomes a source of raw creative power and deep integration. 3. The sage, the seeker of truth, wisdom, clarity. Balanced, it provides perspective and inner peace. In excess, it overthinks, detaches, and avoids real-world action. 4. The lover, drawn to unity, beauty, emotion. Healthy, it fosters connection and inspiration. In shadow, it can cling, lose itself, or fear abandonment. 5. The magician, bringer of transformation. This domain is alchemy, shifting thought into form. It knows the deeper laws of the universe, but when distorted, it can lie to itself or manipulate others. These archetypes are not theoretical. They are active, energetic forms operating inside your psyche, often without your conscious permission. The goal isn't to suppress any of them. It's to bring them into balance. So here's the real-world application. Before setting an intention, whether that's attracting love, building wealth, or healing a relationship, you must identify who inside you is setting that intention. Is it the hero trying to prove something? Is it the lover yearning for validation? Is it the magician aligned with universal principles? Or is it the shadow hijacking the whole process with old wounds? This inner interrogation is not about judgment. It's about clarity. Because when the archetype and the intention align in harmony, the signal you send to the quantum field becomes coherent, powerful, magnetic. That coherence is what draws matching experiences to you, not through force, but through resonance. So how do you identify your active archetypes? Start by examining the patterns that show up repeatedly in your life. Recurring relationship dynamics, emotional loops, reactions that feel too strong for the situation. These are the fingerprints of archetypes trying to get your attention. You can also look to your dreams. Jung believed that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. When an archetype wants to be known, it often arrives as a symbolic figure. A warrior, a child, a dark figure, a guide, a lover, or a king. Another way is through resonance, which characters in movies, stories, or myths fascinate or trigger you. That emotional reaction is a clue. It's pointing to an archetype already active within you, waiting to be integrated. Once you've identified the dominant archetypes, you begin working with them consciously. You don't push them away. You honor them. You listen to what they need. You give them voice without letting them drive the car. And then, from that inner conversation, you refine your intention. That refined intention has more power because it's not distorted by contradiction. It's not the lover pretending to be the hero. It's not the shadow disguised as the sage. It's truth, your truth, speaking clearly into the field. So here's the process. Observe the archetype. Identify its pattern in your life. Acknowledge its shadow and light sides. Align your intention with its highest form. When you do this, intention becomes more than a wish. It becomes a declaration of identity. And when your identity changes, your external world follows. Next, we'll explore the quantum field itself, a realm of infinite potential that responds not just to thought, but to the energy behind it, and how your newly aligned archetypes influence what you pull from that field. There's a realm you interact with every day, yet it's entirely invisible. You don't access it through your five senses. You touch it through focus, through emotion, through the energy behind your decisions. This realm is not imagination. It's physics. Welcome to the quantum field. This is not a metaphor. Quantum physicists have shown that beneath what we call matter lies a field of probability. Not certainty, not fixed outcomes, but waves, frequencies, possibilities. Particles don't exist in one place. They exist in many, all at once. This is called superposition, and they don't choose a location until observed. Once again, consciousness influences outcome. But here's what goes deeper. The quantum field is not just a map of potential, it's a mirror. It doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your frequency, to your emotion, to the unconscious patterns, those archetypes you bring into alignment or leave in chaos. This field is intelligent in a way we can't fully explain, but it is responsive. So when people talk about creating your reality, this is what they're referring to. Every possibility already exists in some form. Every version of you, the confident one, the broke one, the healed one, the artist, the victim, the leader, all of them are encoded in the field. But they don't all materialize. Only the one that matches your dominant frequency moves from potential into form. This is not about fantasy. This is coherence. This is how laser beams work. This is how radios tune into stations. This is how neurons fire together. Frequency determines access. And intention, when understood energetically, not just mentally, is how you tune. Let's break this down practically. Say you want a new experience, a healthier body, a fulfilling relationship, a creative breakthrough. You think the answer is to visualize it, to affirm it, to imagine it hard enough. But if the dominant emotion you're carrying is fear, doubt, shame, or unworthiness, that's the frequency the field registers. The signal is scrambled. On the other hand, if your intention is infused with clarity, inner alignment, and emotional truth, your signal becomes strong, steady, magnetic. It matches a specific version of reality, and the field responds accordingly. This is where archetypes play a vital role. Each archetype has its own signature frequency. The sovereign emits confidence, self-authority, and stability. The magician emits transformation and conscious creation. If you're unconsciously stuck in the victim archetype, you're radiating helplessness, even if your mind says, "I want success." So you end up choosing from timelines that reflect your inner powerlessness, not your outer goals. The field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to who you are. So here's the deeper reality. You're not manifesting from scratch. You're selecting from what already exists. The field contains every option, but access is granted by vibration. That's why healing matters. That's why inner work matters. That's why working with archetypes, not against them, is essential. Let's connect this to quantum entanglement. Entanglement is the phenomenon where two particles, once linked, stay connected across time and space. Change one, and the other changes instantly regardless of distance. Now apply that to you. Every version of you is entangled with a potential outcome. Shift your inner state, and the external entanglement adjusts to match. You don't go out and make it happen. You tune into it, and the connection is already there. That's why some people seem to flow into success, love, purpose. They're not luckier. They're more aligned. They've matched the frequency of the reality they desire, and the quantum field does the rest. So how do you shift your frequency? You work on 3 levels. Mental clarity. Get specific about your intention. Vague desires create vague outcomes. Know what you want and why. Emotional resonance. Feel the emotion of the version of you that already has it. Joy, peace, gratitude, confidence. Let that emotion become your baseline. Archetypal embodiment. Ask yourself, which inner force would naturally create this outcome? The hero? The sage? The magician? Then live from that energy consciously, daily, consistently. When these 3 align, your signal becomes powerful. You don't need to force outcomes. You magnetize them. The field begins to shape itself around your vibration. One more layer, time. In linear thinking, we believe cause and effect takes time. But the quantum field doesn't operate in linear time. It responds instantly to resonance, though that shift might take time to show up in 3D reality. Patience is not passive. It's part of the tuning process. Stay aligned. Stay consistent. Stay archetypally honest. If you feel doubt, meet it. Don't suppress it, transmute it. If you feel off course, check your archetype. Have you slipped back into the shadow, the orphan, the saboteur? Bring yourself back. Realign. The field is always listening. And here's the final insight. Reality is not fixed. It's fluid. And you are not stuck. You are selecting. Not with force, but with frequency. Not with control, but with coherence. The quantum field is infinite. But your access to it depends on one thing. Who are you being right now? Because that answer is the key to what you experience next. Next, we'll explore a part of you that most people avoid. Yet it holds the greatest untapped energy of all. It's called the shadow. And once you stop running from it, you'll discover the very force you've been missing. There's a part of you you've been taught to avoid. It doesn't show up in your social media highlight reel. It doesn't sound good in conversation. It's the part you hide, repress, deny. And yet it runs your life in the background. This is the shadow. Coined by Carl Jung, the shadow represents everything within you that you consider unacceptable, dangerous, or shameful. It's not evil. It's not wrong. It's simply the part of your psyche that hasn't been brought into conscious awareness. And because it remains unconscious, it holds tremendous power both to sabotage and to liberate. Every time you say, "I don't know why I did that," every time you repeat a pattern you swore you were done with, every time you feel a surge of anger, jealousy, fear, or guilt out of proportion to the moment, that's the shadow speaking. It is not out to hurt you. It is not trying to punish you. It's trying to get your attention. Now here's why this matters to the quantum power of intention. Unconscious energy is not silent. It radiates just like conscious intention does. So even if you visualize success, abundance, or love, if the shadow is whispering, "You don't deserve that," or "It's not safe," or "You're going to lose it," that internal contradiction fractures your frequency. This creates what's known as incoherence. The signal you're sending to the quantum field is mixed. And a mixed signal doesn't create results. It creates delay, confusion, sabotage. That's why integrating the shadow is not optional. It's foundational. But integration doesn't mean fixing or erasing. It means witnessing, owning, loving. You bring light to it, not to destroy it, but to understand it. Let's bring this closer to home. If you grew up believing that being powerful meant being selfish, then part of you might fear success. Your conscious mind may want abundance, but your unconscious archetypal shadow links abundance with guilt or isolation. So you keep losing momentum, sabotaging opportunities, and wondering why it keeps happening. The moment you bring this contradiction into awareness, you have a choice. You can reframe the belief. You can work with a different archetype, perhaps the sovereign, to hold a new truth. That power and compassion can coexist. That abundance can be a force for healing. That your presence can uplift, not threaten. This is where your shadow transforms from enemy to ally. Let's talk archetypes again. Each archetype contains its own shadow. The hero can become arrogant. The sage can become cold and detached. The lover can become obsessive. The magician can deceive. But within each shadow lies a gift. The hero's arrogance may stem from unhealed wounds. When healed, it becomes noble confidence. The lover's obsession, when understood, reveals a deep hunger for sacred connection. The magician's deception can become authentic influence once aligned with truth. The shadow is the unrefined energy of power waiting to be integrated. So how do you begin that integration? First, recognize your triggers. Triggers are emotional overreactions that point to unhealed wounds. Don't suppress them. Track them. Ask, what am I really feeling? What part of me feels unsafe? Unseen? Unworthy? Second, dialogue with it. Literally give your shadow a voice. Let it speak on paper. Let it express its fear, its sadness, its unmet needs. You don't need to agree with it, you just need to acknowledge it. Third, embody a higher archetype to hold the space. If the shadow shows up as shame, invite the sovereign. If it shows up as rage, call on the warrior archetype, not to fight, but to protect your boundaries and honor your truth. This internal balance is where coherence begins. And coherence is the fuel of creation. Let's go back to the quantum field. The shadow is a source of suppressed energy. Unexpressed, it creates distortion. Expressed with awareness, it becomes power. In quantum terms, you're liberating potential energy stuck in unconscious programs. You're reintegrating energy that was previously splintered from your identity. And that means your intention becomes stronger, clearer, more complete. People often ask why their manifestations don't work, why their goals stall, why they repeat cycles. The answer, more often than not, is unintegrated shadow. Because the shadow doesn't care about what you want. It holds the beliefs you actually live by, and the quantum field responds to those beliefs, not your affirmations. So when you face the shadow and bring it into the light, something profound happens. Your inner world reorganizes, your energy realigns, and suddenly doors open, events shift, people respond differently. Not because the world changed, because you did. This isn't spiritual bypassing. It's psychological wholeness. It's quantum integrity. There's an ancient truth. The treasure you seek lies in the cave you fear to enter. The part of you fear to face is the key to the life you've been trying to create. So stop running from it. Stop pretending it's not there. Meet your shadow with the full strength of your awareness. With the magician's insight, the sage's wisdom, the warrior's courage, the lover's compassion. And when you do, you won't just heal. You'll become more coherent, more whole, more powerful. That's when intention becomes unstoppable. That's when the quantum field stops resisting because you've stopped resisting yourself. Next, we explore how the universe speaks back to you through timing, patterns, and meaning itself. It's not coincidence. It's called synchronicity. And it may be the most mysterious language your soul has ever spoken. You notice the same number on a clock 3 times in one day. You think of someone and moments later they call. You hear a phrase from a stranger that answers a question you've been silently asking. Most people brush this off as coincidence. But there's more happening beneath the surface. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, a meaningful connection between inner experience and external event that defies logical cause and effect. It's not magic. It's not randomness. It's a pattern emerging from a deeper order, an alignment between your inner world and the field of reality around you. When synchronicity occurs, it signals something vital. Your internal frequency has reached a level of coherence. You've tuned into a deeper layer of reality. And reality is responding in kind. This is where quantum principles and depth psychology converge again. In quantum physics, everything is entangled. Particles can remain connected across space, with no visible cause. A change in one instantly reflects in another. Jung believed the psyche operates the same way, that consciousness is not isolated in the brain, but woven into the very fabric of existence. So when you think a thought, when you feel an emotion, when you hold a strong intention, you're not just lighting up neurons. You're activating a pattern. And that pattern begins to resonate with matching patterns in the external world. Not because you're causing it, because you're aligned with it. This is the essence of synchronicity, an event that reflects the symbolic content of your psyche at a specific moment in time. Not a message from fate, but an echo of your own vibration. Let's bring this into real terms. You've been working on healing your self-worth. You're shifting archetypes from the orphan to the sovereign. You've started seeing yourself differently, acting differently, feeling differently. Then, out of nowhere, you're offered an opportunity that mirrors the exact version of yourself you've been building. The offer isn't luck. It's resonance. The outer world is catching up to the new frequency you've committed to internally. This is not about controlling reality. It's about synchronizing with it. Synchronicities are not random flashes of wonder. They are feedback. Indicators that your internal signal is being received. They're the universe saying, yes, keep going. You're on the right frequency. But there's more. Synchronicities are archetypal by nature. They often come wrapped in symbols, numbers, animals, names, lyrics, images that reflect the archetype currently active within you. You may start seeing lions when the sovereign archetype is awakening. You may hear stories of rebirth or dragons when your inner hero is facing a threshold. You may encounter themes of magic, mystery, or serpents when the magician is stirring. The psyche speaks in symbols. So does the quantum field. And when both are in sync, you receive messages clearer than any logic can explain. Now, here's the most important part. You can increase synchronicity. It's not a passive experience. It's a skill. And it begins with attention. Most people are blind to the signs because they're not present. They miss the conversation happening between their inner world and the field around them. But when you become intentional with observation, patterns emerge. Start here. Track recurring symbols. Keep a journal. What symbols, numbers, themes, or strange repetitions show up again and again? These are psychic markers. Notice your emotional state. Synchronicity is strongest when emotion is high, positive, or negative. Energy opens the channel. Connect to your archetype. Which archetype is being activated right now? The lover? The hero? The sage? Look for outer reflections of that inner shift. Ask, then stay receptive. Ask a question clearly in your mind. Then stop chasing the answer. Let it come through observation, not force. Trust your intuition. Synchronicities often defy logic. They don't make sense. They feel precise. Let intuition have the final word. Here's what changes when you live this way. You begin to feel guided not by an external force, but by the alignment of your own consciousness. You begin to interpret life as a dialogue. Not a series of unrelated events, but a dynamic interaction between the self and the world. You move from confusion to clarity, from control to co-creation. Let's tie this back to intention. When your intention is aligned, when it is archetypally rooted and emotionally energized, it sends a ripple through the field. That ripple returns to you through meaningful events. These events are not always direct or literal, but they carry symbolic significance. They offer confirmation, course correction, and insight. Synchronicity is how your psyche and the quantum field co-navigate reality. It's how deep change becomes visible. It's how guidance emerges from within the very fabric of your experience. So the next time a coincidence catches your eye, don't dismiss it. Pause. Listen. Ask. What archetype is being activated in me right now? What intention have I been holding? What lesson or alignment is this reflecting? Because nothing is random. Not in a quantum universe. Not in a symbolic psyche. And when you tune your awareness to this truth, life becomes something more than linear progress. It becomes art. It becomes conversation. It becomes a mirror of your own evolving self. Next, we're going deeper into the fuel of all intention, the energy that amplifies your signal and shapes the quality of what you attract. That energy is emotion, and once you learn to channel it correctly, your intentions stop whispering and start roaring. Thought initiates the process. Emotion completes it. Without emotional charge, intention is just static. It doesn't move energy. It doesn't shift timelines. It doesn't echo into the field with any real force. Emotion is the fuel. It gives your intention weight, velocity, and magnetic power. This isn't about being reactive or ruled by your feelings. It's about learning how to work with emotion as a conscious technology. Because in the architecture of reality creation, emotion is not secondary, it is foundational. Let's get precise. Emotion isn't just mood. It's frequency. It's vibration. Every emotion carries an energetic signature. Gratitude, joy, love, inspiration, these operate at high, coherent frequencies. Shame, resentment, fear, doubt, these operate at lower, dissonant frequencies. Now combine this with what you've already learned. Your intention, when aligned with the right archetype, creates a blueprint. But it's emotion that energizes that blueprint, makes it vibrationally alive. No energy, no manifestation. All structure, no force. Here's the real mechanism. The quantum field responds to emotional coherence. This means your inner state must match the reality you claim to desire, not just in thought, but in felt experience. If you want abundance, you must feel the emotional state of abundance before it arrives. If you want connection, you must radiate the energy of connection, not from need, but from fullness. If you want peace, you must become a transmitter of peace, even in chaos. This doesn't mean faking emotion. That creates incoherence. It means tuning your emotional state to a real internal frequency, a state that's archetypally aligned and psychically honest. Let's take an example. You hold the intention of creating a business that serves others. The archetype you embody is the magician. Visionary, transformational, aligned with universal flow. But you're consumed with anxiety. You feel rushed. You doubt yourself. What frequency is the field receiving? Not vision, not transformation. The field is receiving fear, scarcity, chaos. So even if your mind says yes, your emotional signal says no. This creates energetic contradiction, and contradiction collapses the power of intention. Now shift that. You tune into the archetype of the sovereign. Calm, wise, grounded. You activate the feeling of fulfillment, not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because your identity no longer depends on the outcome. You operate from emotional sufficiency, not emotional hunger. The result? Your signal becomes strong. Your intentions carry force. And the quantum field mirrors that shift with experiences that reflect your internal upgrade. Emotion is not just feedback. It's the generator. Now let's bring archetypes back into the picture. Every archetype has a core emotional tone. When you identify which archetype you're embodying, you unlock the emotional frequency most likely to empower your intention. Here's a map. The hero brings courage, determination, focused intensity. The lover brings openness, sensuality, passion. The sovereign brings authority, peace, generosity. The sage brings clarity, detachment, quiet confidence. The magician brings transformation, curiosity, wonder. By consciously working with the emotional tone of your archetype, you create alignment across all three levels of creation: thought, identity, and emotion. That alignment is coherence. And coherence is the frequency the quantum field responds to. Let's get practical now. Here's how to work with emotion to energize your intention. Feel before you speak. Before affirming your desire, ask, what emotion am I broadcasting right now? Is it in harmony with my goal or in conflict? Anchor emotional states. Use breath, posture, sound, or visualization to bring specific emotions into your body. You are not your emotions, but you can generate them. Choose archetypal guidance. Let the archetype inform how that emotion is expressed. The hero's courage feels different than the lover's vulnerability, but both are powerful. Transmute instead of suppressing. Negative emotions aren't the enemy. They're data. Feel them fully, express them safely, then shift consciously to a higher state without bypassing. Practice emotional rehearsal. This means repeatedly feeling the state that matches your future self until it becomes your default. Until you feel it even when evidence hasn't shown up yet. This last point is critical. Emotional rehearsal is how you collapse time. You're not waiting for results to feel a certain way. You're feeling that way first, and that emotional state creates the conditions for the result to emerge. This is how intention becomes causative. You move from cause and effect to cause as effect. The feeling becomes the source, not the reaction. Now let's address a misconception. High-frequency emotion is not about being happy all the time. It's about being emotionally honest and skillful. It's about choosing the frequency that supports the reality you're creating, not denying your humanity, but channeling it. Even grief, when honored, carries incredible creative power. Even anger, when clean, can break stagnation and open space for truth. So the work is not to eliminate emotion. It's to refine it, to direct it, to let it speak without letting it dominate. Emotion plus intention equals electromagnetic resonance. You literally become a broadcasting station for the version of reality you're aligned with. And when the broadcast is clear, when your emotional tone matches your desired reality, the quantum field doesn't resist. It reflects, it echoes, it returns. This is the alchemy of emotion, not manipulation, not suppression, but mastery. And once you master this, you no longer hope reality changes. You feel the change before it happens, and the field responds accordingly. Now, you've learned how emotion charges your signal. But what if you could shift your entire timeline? What if you could select not just a new outcome, but an entirely different you already existing in another stream of possibility. Next, we explore that possibility through the mysterious world of parallel selves. Right now, there's a version of you who never hesitated, who took the risk, said yes, spoke the truth, followed the calling. And there's another version who stayed quiet, said no, played it safe, gave up. Both versions exist, not as fiction, but as frequency. This is not science fiction. This is quantum theory. The concept is known as the many worlds interpretation, and it suggests that every time a decision is made, reality splits. Every possible outcome plays out in its own version of the universe. Not metaphorically, literally. Every timeline already exists, and intention, when aligned with emotion and archetypal identity, is what determines which one you experience. You are not stuck in one version of your life. You are selecting from among infinite selves. Every moment. Let's bring this into quantum language. In the field, particles exist in superposition. They don't have a single defined state until observed. The same is true for your future. It's not fixed. It's probabilistic. Your attention acts as a selector. Your emotional frequency sets the dial. Your archetypal identity confirms the pattern. And the version of reality that matches all three is what collapses into form. So when people say, change your life, the deeper truth is, change yourself. Because it's not about becoming someone new. It's about shifting into the version of you that already exists, at a higher frequency, a clearer alignment. Let's map this with archetypes. Every archetype corresponds to a set of timelines. The victim lives in timelines of scarcity, betrayal, stuckness. The hero lives in timelines of challenge, breakthrough, and earned strength. The sovereign lives in timelines of stability, leadership, and abundance. The lover lives in timelines of connection, devotion, and creation. The magician lives in timelines of transformation, synchronicity, and flow. You don't access these timelines by hoping. You access them by embodying the archetype now. Your thoughts don't lead the way. Your identity does. You can't stay in the mindset of the orphan and expect the outcomes of the sage. You can't carry the vibration of fear and align with the timelines of liberation. So how do you shift timelines? Here is the sequence. Identify your current timeline. Ask, what patterns keep repeating? What emotion dominates your life? What narrative are you unconsciously living out? This gives you clarity on what version of yourself is currently active. Choose your destination self. Don't choose goals. Choose identity. Who is the version of you who already lives the life you seek? What archetype do they embody? How do they speak, feel, act, and move? Feel the shift emotionally. Use emotional rehearsal to embody the future you now. This is not pretending. This is frequency tuning. You don't wait for results to feel different. You feel different and let reality catch up. Collapse the bridge. Act in alignment with the chosen self. Not once. Consistently. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when doubt creeps in. This behavior is not effort, it's evidence. Observe new evidence. As your frequency stabilizes, synchronicities emerge. You begin to notice new opportunities, new people, new thoughts. Reality begins to mirror the change you've committed to. This is not about escaping who you are. It's about fully stepping into the part of you that's been waiting. Because timeline shifting is not about distance. It's about frequency. It's not about time. It's about identity. Now, there's one more truth that cannot be ignored. Every time you shift, your old self resists. The shadow comes forward. Old patterns reappear. This is not regression. This is friction, the old timeline trying to hold on. Your job is not to eliminate that resistance. It's to out-frequency it. To become so emotionally coherent, so archetypally embodied, that the old timeline loses resonance. This is when time bends. You meet people you once thought were out of reach. You create results that once seemed impossible. You find yourself speaking, acting, and creating from a place that surprises even you. That's the quantum effect. Not a slow climb, but a state shift. Not external control, but internal transformation. And here's what's most important. You are not manifesting something foreign. You are remembering what already exists. You are choosing, with intention, to activate the version of you that holds the frequency of your desired life. The field responds not to effort, but to truth. When your truth becomes vibrationally coherent, the matching timeline is no longer just a possibility. It becomes inevitable. So the question is not, can you do it? It's, which version of yourself are you ready to remember? Because every possible version of you already lives, and the one you feel most aligned with is the one that responds. Now that you've seen how intention shifts reality through timelines, the question becomes, what story are you living out? Next, you'll explore how one universal pattern, the hero's journey, reveals the deeper structure of your life, and how rewriting that story unlocks a completely new level of conscious creation. You are the protagonist of a cosmic story you may not have realized was unfolding all along. Across cultures and centuries, humanity has mapped this story through myths of heroes who heed a call, face trials, find treasures, and return transformed. Academics call the pattern the hero's journey, yet it is more than literary structure. It is an archetypal sequence hardwired into the psyche, guiding growth every time you move from limitation toward possibility. The journey begins with normal life, routines, expectations, inherited scripts. Something then disturbs the equilibrium. A yearning, a crisis, a whisper that there is more. Joseph Campbell named this moment the call to adventure. Jung would say the self is summoning the ego to expand. In quantum terms, a more expansive timeline is tugging at your frequency. Refuse the call and the old reality persists. Answer and you shift probability. To rewrite your life script, you must recognize the call when it arrives. It may appear as restlessness, a recurring dream, synchronicities clustering around a theme, or a sudden confrontation with shadow content. Awareness turns the disturbance into invitation. Without awareness, the signal feels like random discomfort and you miss the portal. Once the call is accepted, trials appear. Allies and adversaries surface, each mirroring internal forces. The mentor archetype offers tools. The trickster exposes blind spots. The threshold guardian tests resolve. These characters are outer embodiments of inner dynamics. When you befriend an ally, you are claiming latent strength. When you overcome an adversary, you integrate rejected energy. Every encounter refines frequency, nudging you toward the timeline where your intention manifests. The most pivotal stage is the descent into the innermost cave, the confrontation with profound fear or doubt. Psychologically, this is shadow integration intensified. Quantum-wise, it is the moment your signal wobbles between collapse and breakthrough. Courage here is less about physical bravery and more about vibrational stability, holding a coherent emotional tone while chaos tries to derail it. Remain present, and the cave yields treasure. Insight, power, a new identity resonance. Treasures transform the hero, but transformation is validated only when brought back to ordinary reality. This return phase ensures the journey is not escapism but embodiment. You re-enter daily life carrying the boon, radiating a frequency that reshapes relationships, career, creativity, everything. The ordinary world shifts because you shifted. Let's translate these stages into actionable steps for intention work. 1. Hear the call. Identify areas where boredom, frustration, or longing are strongest. Those feelings are markers of compression, energy seeking expansion. Write them down. Declare, "This is my threshold." 2. Cross the threshold. Choose one clear intention that embodies the expansion. New project, healing conversation, courageous pivot. Public commitment is optional. Energetic commitment is essential. 3. Recruit allies, recognize adversaries. List supporters, mentors, resources. Equally list habits, environments, or relationships that echo saboteur energy. Arrange allies closer. Redesign or release adversarial patterns. External realignment signals internal seriousness. 4. Enter the cave. Schedule consistent practices that surface shadow material, meditation, breathwork, expressive writing. When fear or shame rises, Meet it with sovereign compassion. Remind yourself that emotion is raw power being reclaimed. 5. Claim the boon. Define the specific quality you gain: confidence, artistic skill, insight, vitality. Anchor it through ritual. Speak it aloud at dawn for 40 days, or embed it in creative action. Repetition grooves new neural and vibrational pathways. 6. Return and radiate. Deliberately bring the new quality into mundane spaces. Emails, meals, family dialogue. Small acts test coherence more than peak moments. Consistency signals to the quantum field that the change is permanent. Throughout, maintain awareness of the archetype guiding you. If the hero is your driver, use disciplined action and resilience. If the lover leads, prioritize connection and beauty. If the magician pulses, leverage imagination and synchronicity. The archetype supplies the energy style, you supply direction. The hero's journey is nonlinear. You loop through cycles as intentions evolve. Each loop widens capacity, elevates baseline frequency, and grants access to richer timelines. Stagnation occurs only when the call is ignored or the cave avoided. Answer and descend, and movement resumes. Here is an advanced nuance. The journey is fractal. Inside every major quest are micro-journeys, daily calls, hourly caves, minute-by-minute returns. Treat each micro-instance with respect and you cultivate real-time agility. This agility accelerates manifestation because resistance is addressed immediately, before it snowballs into sabotage. Remember, the world does not label you hero or victim. Your vibration does. Adopt the narrative consciously and the field adopts it with you. Speak of challenges as thresholds, not curses. Speak of allies with gratitude, of adversaries as mirrors, of setbacks as recalibrations. Language encodes frequency. Frequency guides probability. Some worry that hero narratives glorify struggle. The opposite is true when understood archetypally. Struggle is not the goal, transformation is. Trials are not punishment. They are feedback loops ensuring you stabilize new power before wielding it. Skip them and manifestation may arrive, but without the capacity to hold it, collapse follows. Trials build containers for the energy you are summoning. To close, treat your life as mythic autobiography authored in real time. When uncertainty arises, map your current stage. Are you resisting the call? Mid-ordeal? Harvesting the boon? This mapping brings clarity and motivation. You stop seeing life as random and start seeing design. Design invites mastery. You are, and always have been, the storyteller and the story, the observer and the observed. The hero's journey merely provides the outline. Intention writes the dialogue. Emotion inks the pages. Archetype binds the chapters. And the quantum field publishes the edition visible to the world. So pick up the pen. The next plot twist awaits your command. Each decision, no matter how small, is another sentence in that manuscript. Choose consciously, feel fully, act with integrity, and the narrative cannot help but ascend. This is authorship at the highest level. Not forcing outcomes, but composing frequency until outcomes harmonize by natural law. The hero within you is ready for the next chapter. Write it boldly now. Your mind is not a container. It is not a storage space for facts or memories. It is a transmitter, an electromagnetic generator, and the beliefs it holds define the frequency it emits. In the quantum model, the field responds not to wishes, but to vibrational signals. And the dominant signal always comes from belief. Not what you claim to believe, not what you post online, but the unconscious assumptions operating beneath your thoughts. The scripts you've been rehearsing for years without even realizing it. These beliefs are the blueprint. Your outer reality is simply construction based on that inner architecture. So when intention fails to create change, the cause is often simple. Your conscious desire is incompatible with your unconscious identity. Your mind says, I want it. Your vibration says, it's not possible. And the field, flawlessly neutral, echoes the stronger signal every time. Let's get more specific. Belief is not a thought you repeat. It's a frequency you've emotionally embodied. It's encoded through repetition, trauma, reward, or cultural conditioning. And here's the quantum kicker. Every belief you hold entangles you with a set of outcomes. A belief is not a private opinion. It is a selection device. It defines what data you notice, what timelines you tune into, and what opportunities can even reach your awareness. A person who believes love is dangerous unconsciously aligns with timelines that reinforce loneliness, betrayal, or guarded relationships. A person who believes they are powerful tunes into paths where leadership, trust, and influence become available. This is not magic. This is resonance. The field offers all options. Belief determines access. Now let's bring in archetypes. Every archetype carries a unique belief matrix. The victim believes the world is unfair, and they have no agency. The hero believes that effort creates growth, even when it's hard. The lover believes connection is sacred and worth risk. The sage believes that truth liberates and all things are knowable. The magician believes reality is fluid and energy follows awareness. When you shift archetypes, you automatically shift beliefs. You don't change thoughts, you change identity. And when identity changes, the signal you send changes with it. Let's say you're working with the intention to create financial abundance. If the core belief in your psyche is money corrupts, then no matter how many affirmations you chant, your energy will reject wealth as a threat. Your behavior will subtly avoid opportunities. You'll spend poorly, undervalue yourself, or fail to act on intuition. But if you shift into the sovereign archetype, who believes that abundance is a tool for empowerment and service, then your choices, your confidence, and your frequency adjust automatically. You attract not because you wish harder, but because you've become resonant with a different timeline. Here's how to locate the beliefs running your life. 1. Examine the results you're getting. Results don't lie. They are evidence of belief. If love, health, or success are chronically elusive, it's not bad luck. It's misaligned belief. 2. Track your self-talk. Beliefs hide in repetition. Listen to your thoughts when you're under pressure. Phrases like, "I always mess this up," "It's just not for people like me," or "I don't deserve it" are beliefs revealing themselves. 3. Identify the archetype behind the belief. Once a belief is clear, ask, who would say this? Is it the orphan, the shadow, the martyr, the rebel? Name the archetype. This reveals the deeper structure. 4. Upgrade the archetype. Shift into a higher energy identity. Instead of silencing the old voice, replace it with a stronger one, the sage, the sovereign, the creator. Let this new archetype install new beliefs. 5. Anchor new beliefs with action. Beliefs change when tested. Take small aligned actions that prove the new belief is valid. If you believe, "I am worthy of love," then act like someone who protects their heart and sets clear boundaries. Behavior is how belief becomes embodied. Let's now bring in quantum coherence. A belief becomes powerful when it aligns thought, emotion, and identity. This is coherence. When your internal signal is stable across all layers, mental, emotional, energetic, the field responds fast. That's why superficial affirmations don't work. If they conflict with emotional truth, they generate incoherence. The signal gets muddy. The field delays or distorts the return. But when your affirmation aligns with belief, when you feel it, trust it, live it, it becomes a magnet. The results don't just appear. They accelerate. They multiply. You are not fated to repeat the past. But if you don't rewire your belief structure, your future will echo your history. The good news? Belief is malleable, can be reshaped, not by force but by frequency. The more you embody the archetype aligned with your desire, the more that archetype's beliefs become natural. You don't need to recite them, you live them, and once you live them, the field mirrors them. So take inventory. Find the beliefs hiding in your results. Decide which archetype you're ready to activate. And let that archetype upgrade the signal you're broadcasting. Because belief isn't about being right. It's about being resonant. And once your inner resonance shifts, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Now that you've learned how belief shapes the magnetic field of your experience, let's explore how your unconscious speaks to you while the ego sleeps. Dreams are not just memories in disguise, they are messages from the quantum psyche. And within them, your archetypes speak in their purest form. While your waking mind is busy interpreting, analyzing, and reacting, your dreaming mind is receiving. It is not confined by logic, space, or time. It does not ask for permission to explore timelines, to merge symbols, to channel archetypes. It simply opens and transmits. Dreams are not random noise. They are portals, access points into the unconscious field where the deepest archetypes, beliefs, and frequencies reveal themselves. Carl Jung understood this better than most. He believed dreams were the direct speech of the self. Not the ego, not the personality, but the organizing center of the psyche that connects your conscious life with the infinite. From a quantum perspective, dreams operate beyond classical time-space. Your brain is no longer filtering sensory input in real time. It's free to interface with non-local information. You're no longer locked into the linear trajectory of one timeline. You're slipping across probabilities, feeling into what is unresolved, what is emerging, what is possible. The symbols in your dreams? They are messages. They are emotional packets of data delivered in archetypal form. They bypass logic and speak directly to vibration. Let's get clear. A dream isn't just about interpretation. It's about integration. The dream shows you what the waking mind is missing. It delivers a compressed, symbolic representation of your energetic alignment. And when you learn how to decode that, you gain access to the hidden variables shaping your current timeline. For example, recurring dreams of being chased may symbolize unresolved conflict with the shadow. Dreams of flight or levitation often reflect rising frequency or a desire to escape density. Encounters with wise figures, magical animals, or luminous landscapes often signal the activation of the magician or sage archetype. And here's the deeper insight. The characters in your dreams are not random. They are reflections of the archetypes, beliefs, wounds, and potentials that exist within your quantum psyche. Let's look at the architecture of a dream through an archetypal lens. The setting reflects your current emotional environment. The protagonist is your ego's current stance. Other characters represent archetypes trying to integrate or challenge you. Obstacles symbolize internal resistance. Resolutions or breakthroughs reflect shifts in timeline or belief. Now, some people dismiss dreams because they seem fragmented or illogical. That's only because they're trying to apply linear thought to a nonlinear system. The unconscious doesn't think in sentences. It thinks in symbolic resonance. And the more you try to fit your dreams into rational boxes, the more you miss the actual message. Here's how to begin working with your dreams as quantum guidance. 1. Record immediately upon waking. The moment you open your eyes, write down every detail, even if it seems silly. The ego forgets within minutes, but the unconscious is giving you a snapshot of your inner alignment. 2. Identify the emotional signature. What emotion dominated the dream? That's the frequency your unconscious is processing or struggling with. Emotion is the bridge between dream content and waking vibration. 3. Look for archetypal figures. Did a mother, teacher, enemy, animal, or child appear? Each one is an inner force. Ask, what is this part of me trying to say? 4. Translate symbols not literally but energetically. Don't ask, what does a snake mean universally? Ask, what does this snake feel like in the dream? What energy does it carry? Trust your intuitive sense. The message is personal. 5. Ask for dreams with intention. Before sleep, pose a question aloud or silently. Show me where I'm out of alignment. Reveal which archetype needs my attention. Your unconscious listens. The quantum field responds. Let's bring this into manifestation work. If you are working with intention but feel blocked, ask for a dream to reveal the block. You may see yourself lost in a maze, symbolizing confusion. You may face an adversary you fear to confront, symbolizing unintegrated shadow. You may find a key in the dream, symbolizing access to new belief or archetypal energy. This symbolic language provides diagnostic insight, and when taken seriously, it guides you toward coherence. Because in dreams, the quantum and the archetypal meet directly. No ego, no resistance, just unfiltered truth in symbolic form. And the more you honor that language, the more precise your waking intention becomes. You're no longer guessing. You're receiving guidance from the deepest intelligence within you. Now here's a truth few understand. Dreams can also show you future potentials. Not as prophecies, but as energetic previews. Your unconscious may be exploring timelines based on your current vibration. Pay attention to dreams that feel unusually vivid, joyful, or empowering. They may be showing you what's possible if you maintain your current frequency. Likewise, disturbing dreams may be warning signs of beliefs or behaviors that are lowering your resonance. The field is always speaking. Dreams are one of its clearest channels. So treat your sleep as sacred. Clear your mind before bed. Set intentional questions. And wake with reverence for the messages received. This practice, combined with intention, archetypal awareness, and emotional coherence, makes your entire life a conversation. No moment is wasted. No symbol is meaningless. Everything is part of the feedback loop between your inner world and the field. And when that loop is fully conscious, transformation accelerates. You stop reacting. You start listening. And listening gives you choice. Now that you've learned how the field speaks through dreams, we'll expand from the individual psyche to the collective mind. You're not just shaping your own reality. You're participating in the frequency of the entire species. And your intention, when amplified through the collective unconscious, has the power to influence far more than your personal life. You are not alone in your intention. Even when your desires feel deeply personal, they're resonating through a field larger than your own nervous system. That field is the collective unconscious, a vast, shared realm of archetypes, memories, instincts, and symbolic energy that binds all human beings beyond culture, language, or belief. Carl Jung revealed that the psyche does not end at the skull. Each of us carries a personal unconscious, made of repressed memories and individual patterns, but beyond that, we're plugged into a deeper web. This web is ancient. It's filled with the archetypes that have animated human life since the beginning. The hero, the mother, the trickster, the destroyer, the sage. And this web is active. In modern quantum terms, this collective mind can be thought of as a morphic field, a non-local energy structure that holds habits, behaviors, and psychic patterns across generations and geographies. When enough individuals align to a particular energy, that frequency imprints into the collective and becomes easier for others to access. This is why cultural shifts, revolutions, and mass awakenings seem to occur in waves. The field reaches a tipping point, and reality reorganizes. What does this mean for your personal intention? It means you're never creating in isolation. Every thought, every emotion, every archetypal embodiment sends ripples not only through your life, but through the whole human field. And when your intention resonates with a pattern already held in the collective unconscious, it gains power. It gains momentum, because you are no longer just drawing on your own energy, you are tapping into archetypal currents that millions before you have activated. Here's an example. You set the intention to embody the hero. You seek growth, resilience, and courage in the face of adversity. You are not starting from zero. You are tuning into a well-worn path encoded in myth, in story, in DNA. The hero lives in the collective. And by stepping into that frequency, you tap into collective support, subtle, nonverbal, but energetically real. The same is true for all archetypes. When you embody the sage, you align with the wisdom of every truth seeker who has ever lived. When you embody the lover, you draw upon the energy of devotion, beauty, and connection that has shaped poems, rituals, and cultures for thousands of years. These energies are not metaphor. They are resonant fields, accessible, potent, and responsive to your vibration. And here's the deeper truth. Your personal healing heals the field. When you integrate shadow, when you forgive, when you expand into authenticity, you're not just changing your life. You're altering the emotional tone of the human web. And because consciousness is entangled, others begin to find it easier to make the same leap. This is how generational patterns are broken. This is how trauma dissolves across family lines. This is how collective fear gives way to collective possibility. Let's make this practical. Here's how to consciously work with the collective unconscious. 1. Set an intention that serves both personal and collective evolution. Ask, how can my transformation benefit more than just me? This moves your frequency from isolated to integrated, from ego-driven to field-responsive. 2. Choose archetypes that support planetary healing. The sovereign doesn't just create wealth, it creates responsible stewardship. The magician doesn't just bend reality, it heals systems. The lover doesn't just seek union, it dissolves separation. 3. Join energetic communities. Group meditations, aligned circles, rituals, and synchronized intentions magnify field strength. When two or more gather in the same archetypal frequency, the field multiplies exponentially. 4. Be conscious of what you're feeding into the field. Thoughts are contagious, so are emotions. Every time you choose curiosity over judgment, presence over reactivity, truth over comfort, you're shifting the collective resonance. 5. Use intention not only to manifest outcomes, but to shift collective patterns. You can hold space for peace in areas of conflict. You can send compassion into polarized systems. You can visualize balance in places of chaos. No, this doesn't replace action, but it empowers action with alignment. This is not idealism. This is energetic physics. Morphic fields are real. They respond to mass frequency, and every individual contributes. Now let's take it further. Some individuals are called to act as archetypal anchors in the collective. They embody a certain frequency so completely that they stabilize it for others. You know these people. They walk into a room and shift the energy, not because they speak loudly, but because their inner signal is coherent. You can become one of them, not by chasing perfection, but by aligning deeply with a single archetype and radiating its truth through word, body, and presence. The field needs this, because we are in a global transformation, an initiatory moment on the planetary hero's journey. And as with any initiation, the shadow rises first. Old structures break. Old stories unravel. Chaos whispers fear. But in the midst of that, there are those holding a different tone. Sovereigns building new systems. Magicians crafting new narratives. Sages guiding with discernment. Lovers reweaving connection. And their intention, multiplied by emotional coherence and archetypal integrity, becomes field-changing. That can be you. That is the potential behind your personal intention. It's not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming a vibrational influence inside a species learning how to awaken. So hold your intention high. Let your identity align with its highest form. Let your frequency stabilize. And trust that every choice made in love, clarity, and truth adds signal to the grid. Because the collective unconscious is not passive. It is a living organism. And right now it's responding to you. Next, we complete this entire journey, bringing together quantum insight, archetypal mastery, emotional alignment, and identity evolution. In the final chapter, you'll discover how to become the conscious architect of your reality, choosing who you are with precision, clarity, and power. Reality is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens through you, not by accident, not by wishful thinking, but by design, structured by your intention, empowered by your emotion, filtered through your beliefs, and shaped by the archetype you choose to embody. You are not a spectator in this universe. You are a builder, and whether you've known it or not, you've been constructing reality with every thought you've repeated, every feeling you've held onto, every story you've believed, and every role you've played. But here's the shift. You don't have to build by default anymore. You can build on purpose. This is what it means to become the architect of your life. An architect does not wait for clarity to appear. They create it. They don't wonder what the structure will become. They draw the blueprint, detail the foundation, define the function, and elevate the form. Your intention is that blueprint. Your attention is the blueprint's focus. Your emotion is the concrete. Your archetype is the blueprint's shape. Your daily choices are the labor. Every timeline you've ever imagined exists, some closer, some further. And the moment you bring intention, identity, and energy into harmony, the blueprint becomes reality. Let's simplify everything you've learned into a single integrated formula. Intention plus emotion plus archetypal identity plus belief coherence plus aligned action equals quantum reality shift. Each element matters. Intention clarifies the destination. Without it, the field has no direction. Emotion supplies the charge. Without it, the signal lacks strength. Archetypal identity defines the lens. Without it, your desires distort. Belief anchors the possibility. Without it, your energy leaks. Action locks the vibration into the physical world. Without it, nothing stabilizes. The field does not reward effort. It responds to alignment. So becoming the architect means one thing: becoming aligned by design. No more unconscious loops. No more archetypes running wild beneath your awareness. No more intentions sabotaged by inner contradiction. This is conscious creation. And it begins not with a new goal, but a new self-concept. Ask this question: who must I become for this reality to feel normal? Not thrilling, not rare, normal. Because what feels normal to your system is what stabilizes in your timeline. If success still feels unreal, you'll sabotage it. If love still feels unsafe, you'll repel it. If purpose still feels too big, you'll delay it. But once the identity matches the desire, once the archetype you live matches the life you seek, it locks in. The field no longer resists, because you no longer resist. That's mastery, not controlling the world, but calibrating your signal so precisely that reality adjusts itself. So what does this architect look like in practice? They wake up with clear intention, not driven by anxiety, but guided by design. They observe their emotions as indicators, not truths, not obstacles, but raw energy to be directed. They know their active archetype and let it inform their posture, voice, decision-making, and thought loops. They update beliefs through action, not endless journaling, but immediate embodiment. They recognize resistance as a signal to realign, not a reason to stop. They track synchronicities. They honor dreams. They protect their frequency as their most valuable currency. They are not waiting to become. They are being now, deliberately, powerfully, consistently. And because of that, the timelines they once imagined are no longer distant. They are reachable, and soon inevitable. So here's your closing challenge. Choose your archetype, not as a fantasy but as a frequency. Do you want to operate as the sovereign, setting boundaries, holding power, guiding systems? Then speak with authority. Make decisions swiftly. Embody stability. Do you want to live as the magician, transforming limitations, unlocking new pathways, perceiving hidden patterns? Then meditate daily. Play with possibilities. Watch for the symbolic language of the field. Do you feel called to the sage? Then prioritize truth. Study. Observe. Speak less, but with clarity. The archetype is not a mask. It's a mode of energetic operation. It's how your frequency is shaped. It's how the field understands your identity. And identity is what the field responds to. Not hope, not effort. Identity. So here, at the end of this journey, you stand at a threshold. Behind you, loops, confusion, fragmentation, reaction. Ahead of you, clarity, creation, coherence, choice. You already know the tools. You already understand the structure. Now you must live it, daily, fully. No waiting. Become the architect, and build with intention so clear, so energetically clean, that the world can't help but shape itself around it. This isn't about forcing outcomes. It's about designing inner alignment so skillfully that outer reality adjusts itself to fit your inner truth. The field is listening. The archetypes are ready. Your quantum self is watching. So align your signal. Anchor your identity. Feel your intention. And construct the life already waiting for your design. You are the architect now. Build wisely. Build boldly. Build as if reality is listening. Because it is.